The majority of Americans hate women. The majority of Americans hate women more than they love anything, including democracy, close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I am not sure what this has to do with the subject matter of this
Did
hearing.
you say it?
I do not have those words in front of me. I probably said something along those lines, but
Yeah,
what is the relevance of that to this
big as
hearing?
Dallas, right there. When the Supreme Court declares that there is a constitutional right to armed self-defense in public, it openly embraces and promotes a culture that privileges white men's ability to terrorize and kill those that they perceive as threats, close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I believe so. Thank you for reading.
Okay. And did you also say in that article, I'm going to quote again, quote, by simultaneously expanding white men's right to kill and constricting women's right not to die, this Supreme Court, referring to the current United States Supreme Court, has turned the Constitution into a homicide pact as well, close quote. Did you write that?
That sounds like me.
Okay.
Patriots, I need your full attention for this one. What you're about to hear isn't just another example of DC dysfunction. It's the unmasking of the radical academic elite right before our very eyes. This isn't satire. This isn't exaggeration. This is the left telling you exactly what they think of America, the Constitution, the Supreme Court, your right to bear arms, and even you, the average American. Welcome to Founding Voice America, where we stand firm for truth, tradition, and the timeless values this nation was built on. And today, we're breaking down one of the most jaw-dropping, nauseating displays of liberal elitism ever caught in a Senate hearing. Let's dive into this. So Senator John Kennedy, a man who has a gift for cutting through elitist nonsense with Southern charm and a steel spine, steps into a hearing and questions a law professor, Dr. Mary Ann Franks. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. Because what unravels in the next 5 minutes tells us everything we need to know about the academic left's hatred of America and everything she stands for. Senator Kennedy simply asks, do you really believe the Trump administration used government power to compel speech, but the Biden administration didn't? And the professor, without flinching, says yes. Yes. These people genuinely believe Biden is some bastion of free speech, while Trump, the man who brought America first roaring into the mainstream, is the villain. Friends, if you ever needed proof that these people live in an alternate universe, here it is. But it gets worse. Far worse. Senator Kennedy starts reading direct quotes from this professor's own law review article, published in a supposedly prestigious journal. And let me tell you, the words are chilling. She says, and I quote, when the Supreme Court declares there is a constitutional right to armed self-defense in public, it embraces and promotes a culture that privileges white men's ability to terrorize and kill those they perceive as threats. Are you kidding me? This is not a slip of the tongue. This is not taken out of context. This is how these radicals truly see your Second Amendment rights. To them, if you own a firearm for self-defense, you're not protecting your family. You're apparently a white supremacist ready to commit murder. That's not just offensive. That's evil. And this woman isn't some fringe Twitter troll. She's a professor, testifying before Congress, influencing public policy, and shaping the minds of future lawyers and judges. But folks, if you thought it couldn't get more disgraceful, buckle up. She goes on to say that the current Supreme Court, the one that overturned Roe versus Wade and affirmed your right to carry a firearm, has turned the Constitution into a homicide pact. Let that sink in. The Constitution, the very document that gave us liberty, rule of law, and protection from tyranny, is now a homicide pact to these people.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for having to miss the testimony of some of you, and I appreciate you coming today. Professor Franks, let me ask you, I listened to your and Ms. Hemingway's testimony and Professor Turley's, so I got part of it. As I understand it, your position, Professor Franks, is that, I think you used the word myth. It is a myth that the Biden administration used government to compel speech, private speech. but that the Trump administration is doing that. Is that a fair characterization?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Do you think perhaps you're allowing your personal political beliefs to affect your objectivity here?
No, I do not. What is guiding my answers here is that I'm looking to see what the Supreme Court has said. You notice that in the testimony about the censorship industrial complex.
I got that part.
No, I just
got
want
that
to
part.
clarify.
No, but I've only got 5 minutes. Your answer is no, as I appreciate it. Let me ask you a couple questions. You wrote a law review article in December of 2023 for the New York University Law Review, and it was about the two cases, Bruin, Supreme Court case, and Dobbs. Remember that article?
Yes, I do.
Okay. In this article, you said, I'm going to quote your words, "Taken together, these two cases demonstrate that the Supreme Court has embraced the use of the Constitution as a tool of racial patriarchy," end quote. Did you say that?
Yes.
Okay. And then you went on to say, quote, "When the Supreme Court declares that there is a constitutional right to armed self-defense in public, it openly embraces and promotes a culture that privileges white men's ability to terrorize and kill those that they perceive as threats," close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I believe so. Thank you for reading.
Okay. And did you also say in that article, I'm going to quote again, quote, "by simultaneously expanding white men's right to kill and constricting women's right not to die, this Supreme Court," referring to the current United States Supreme Court, "has turned the Constitution into a homicide pact as well," close quote. Did you write that?
That sounds like me.
Okay. In November of 2024, you tweet, don't you?
I'm not sure what the current terminology is for it, but yes, I am sometimes on the social platform that was formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, you're on a lot, aren't you?
I'm not sure what the relevance of that is.
You try to be provocative on there, don't you?
Again, I'm not sure what the relevance
Well,
of this question is.
let me show you the relevance. On November 7th, 2024, from your tweet, here's one of your tweets at 2:41 p.m., quote, "The majority of Americans hate women. The majority of Americans hate women more than they love anything, including democracy," close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I am not sure what this has to do with the subject matter of this
Did you
hearing.
say it?
I do not have those words in front of me. I probably said something along those lines, but
Yeah,
what is
you
the
said it.
relevance
Here
of that
it
to
is,
this
big as
hearing?
Dallas, right there.
Yes.
But your political beliefs don't impact your feelings about President Biden or President Trump.
I don't have feelings about either of them. What I have
Sounds
is
to me
doctrine.
like you have your favorite feeling is anger. Let me ask you this. You issued another tweet. This was in May of 2022. You've just been tweeting up a storm. You said, quote, "There's a reason why the conservative-dominated Supreme Court thinks the Constitution does not contain a right to an abortion, but is convinced that it contains an individual right to possess firearms. And that reason is white male supremacy," close quote. Did I read that correctly?
Is there a question in this?
Did I read that correctly? That's
Is there
my
a question that is relevant to this hearing?
Did I read that correctly? Do you really think that the United States Supreme Court, you're an officer of the court, is guided by white male supremacy?
I believe that the First Amendment prohibits the president
Did you
and other
say
state
that?
officials for punishing people for
Did
their
you honestly say that, Professor?
I
And you
believe
expect us,
that the First
as a
Amendment,
Democratic witness, to take you seriously? Are you kidding me?
I believe that you should take
You
the First
heard of
Amendment
curb your
seriously, sir.
enthusiasm? Here's my saying, curb my nausea.
I
Thank you.
believe that you
The
should take the
time
First
has
Amendment
expired. Thank
seriously.
you. Senator Durbin.
This is what leftist academia thinks of our founding principles. They want you to believe that liberty is violence, that your rights are dangerous, that the system our founders created is some bloodthirsty, patriarchal relic that needs to be dismantled. And let's be clear, this isn't just about the Second Amendment or the Supreme Court. This is about delegitimizing every cornerstone of American liberty, from due process to federalism, and replacing it with a woke, authoritarian regime. Senator Kennedy, being the absolute legend that he is, doesn't stop there. He starts reading from the professor's tweets, and if you're not angry yet, you're about to be. She tweeted in November 2024, "The majority of Americans hate women more than they love anything, including democracy." Really? That's the voice Democrats chose as their expert witness? How can you claim to love democracy when you have utter contempt for the very people who make up that democracy, the American people? She even tweeted that the Supreme Court's position on gun rights and abortion is rooted in white male supremacy. Let me ask you this, patriots, is that how a serious legal scholar talks? Or is that how a bitter, radical activist speaks who's more interested in peddling divisive identity politics than preserving the Constitution? This isn't academic analysis, it's unhinged propaganda. And then she has the audacity to claim, when asked directly if her political beliefs affect her objectivity, that no, they don't. Please. She's published articles, she's tweeted rants, she's used every platform possible to spread vitriolic, anti-American bile. But we're supposed to believe she's just a neutral legal scholar? Not a chance. My fellow patriots, this is bigger than just one Senate hearing. This is about the left's war on America. Because here's the truth they won't say out loud. They hate the Constitution. They hate our history. They hate that the American people still believe in God, guns, and freedom. And every time they lose at the ballot box or in the courtroom, they scream that the system is broken, when really, the system is doing exactly what it's supposed to do: protect our rights. They don't want judges who interpret the law. They want judges who rewrite it. They don't want free speech, they want approved speech. And they don't want a government of the people. They want rule by academic elites who loathe the very heartland that keeps this country running. We have to wake up. We have to push back. And we have to stop pretending that these radicals just have a different opinion. No, they have an agenda. And that agenda is to tear down everything that made America great and replace it with a dystopian nightmare of censorship, state control, and woke tyranny. This is why Founding Voice America exists, to shine a light on the darkness, to defend what's right, and to never back down when the left tries to shame us into silence. Senator Kennedy pulled back the curtain, and we saw the truth. Now it's our job to speak up, stand firm, and fight back. Because this country doesn't belong to elitist professors or unelected bureaucrats. It belongs to you, the hard-working, God-fearing, freedom-loving American citizen. So if you believe in truth, liberty, and the Constitution, share this video. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let them know we're not going anywhere. This is Founding Voice America. And we're just getting started.